me testing.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
Hey friends, what's going on? How are you doing? And welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I do hope you're doing well, I really do hope that, and welcome on back to Chelsea news here on the channel, of which we're speaking about a lot today. Conor Gallagher already training with Atletico Madrid, being filmed, so guess that's done. Bishop Humphries, dealers signed, sealed, delivered to Burnley, I believe. Breuer, we're getting the P's for Breuer. Loan of an obligation to Ipswich Town for, can't speak English, over 30 million quid. Cole Palmer doing the Starboy thing, winning the Young PFA Player of the Year. Had he not, there would have been trouble, because he absolutely was the only choice. And also, I want to reference Ben Jacobs, who went on the Londoners Blue podcast, the good guys over there, my friends, the Americans over on LIBP, speaking about Osimhen, the situation. Very, very interesting, because as it stands, Chelsea remain the only suitors. There's lots of stuff regarding that deal. And Ben Jacobs, to his credit, I think he's a good journalist. He's clearly well connected, he's insightful, and he's got a lot of information. Some of it just to be reiterated, but some new interesting stuff about how Chelsea could sign Victor Osimhen, even on a loan still, despite him originally not wanting to. And of course, Lukaku is woven into this story as well. So it's going to be a great video, guys. As always, thank you for joining me. Thank you for supporting the content here on the channel. We are on the road to 190,000, and then of course 200. That's the target for this season. So thank you for subscribing. If you choose to do so, hit the bell, baby. All right, just quickly, Fabrizio Romano's posted a video of Conor Gallagher training with Atletico Madrid. He's in the Atleti kit, he's running around, he's training. It must be signed. If he's like putting himself at any type of like physical risk of, you know, impact. I mean, it doesn't look like they're doing impact stuff, but do you know what I mean? As soon as they're training, the fact how he was training by himself at Chelsea was like, right, don't let him go anywhere near anyone until this deal is done, until the money's been sent over, the contract's been signed. You'd have to assume in this instance that it's done, diddly done. So, yeah, man. Thank you, Connor. Wonderful servant. I hope he has an excellent time over in Madrid. I mean, it's not a bad gig, is it? Sunny Madrid. Probably gets a good wage, big crowd, Champions League football. Simeone, Ruddy loves him. It's going to be a sweet, sweet time for Connor. All right. So, that boy Cole won PFA Young Player of the Year. I mean, you know, it had to be him, didn't it? It had to be him. Gianfranco Zola presenting him the award. Just lovely stuff. He said this, Cole, I did not think it would go this well. It's been an amazing season, and I'm thankful. It was a difficult move. I'll always be grateful for Man City for everything they taught me, but I thought it was time to move on. And boy, it was time to move on, because you won Young Player of the Year in the Premier League award, and you won PFA Young Player of the Year. Amazing. He wiped the floor with the Premier League. No other player got as many goal involvements than Cole Palmer. Not Erling Haaland, not Phil Foden, who had an amazing season. Phil Foden, by the way, of course, won PFA Players Player of the Year. Easy for me to say. And of course, Cole won Young Player. It's exactly the same with the Premier League awards. They both won Senior and Young Player. So, deservedly so. Phil Foden was excellent. And Cole Palmer went on to say stuff like, no, I didn't have goal targets for last season. I just moved to Chelsea to play football, and the goals come with it. I like the big games when the team look for me. I try to produce in big moments. Well, you did, mate. You produced in all the big moments. You're ruddy wicked. Congratulations to Cole Palmer for just being a superstar. Alright, so Chelsea are still making moves. Of course, Bashir Humphries, it looks like there's been a deal agreed with Burnley for the Chelsea Academy defender, worth £12 million fixed with £2.7 million in add-on. So nearly £15 million transfer fee for, here it comes, pure profit, which, you know, even 15 million in pure profit is a lot, of course, to be injected into the immediate financial year. And that is good business from Chelsea. I like Bashir, thought he was a good defender, but I'm not calling for him to start particularly, and therefore it's good that Chelsea, you've got another player off the books. They're dropping like flies every single day, which of course leads me to Armando Broja. At Ipswich Town, of course, another player that we've already sold to Ipswich Town this summer in Amari Hutchison, and he forgot his name there, who, by the way, is by far their record signing, the young Chelsea winger, because that's the kind of quality we have available in our sale portfolio. Players that we don't even start or have on the bench are worth other Premier League's record transfers. I mean, that is impressive in that sense. And they're looking at Armando Broja as well. And this would, should they have the obligation triggered to purchase Armando Broja, they would be breaking their transfer record yet again for another Chelsea player, for this Chelsea Academy graduate and pure profit asset in Armando Broja. Everyone, look, lots of people rate Broja, but I think the majority of people are fine with us selling him at this point, even though many of us had high hopes for him. The deal is a loan while Ipswich Town are in the Premier League, and should they stay up and not get relegated, which I think they've got a good chance, especially Amari looked great, and, they add another centre-forward and Broja. They got, Kieran McKenna is an excellent manager. It will be a massive achievement if they stay up. 2 consecutive promotions and then retaining Premier League status would be absolutely insane work from him. You could see why Chelsea was looking at him. So it's not a given, but should they stay in the Premier League, they have to... buyout, it's triggered the obligation to buy him, and it's over 30 million pounds sterling. No, we're not selling sterling, sadly, at the moment, but over 30 million quid should they retain Premier League status. I mean, obviously that's a relatively big but relatively big but they can do it. Why not, especially with adding more and more quality, especially of course that first half against Liverpool. They did look like they can, if they sort their stuff out, they can give a lot of teams problems. And if they get a few wins on the board, adding a bit more quality, over 30 million quid. But anyway, this is just, adding to the fact that Chelsea are getting loads of players out the door and seemingly good deals still. When there's this kind of idea of a bloated squad and a need for a fire sale, or people perceive a need for a fire sale, you might think, we'll be giving away these players for free. But no, good deals are being done, and people like, other clubs like the Chelsea players, and they're willing to pay good money for them, which you have to say is good. So, of course, we're going to speak about Osimhen now. People like Florian Plettenberg, who works for Sky, is saying, look, Chelsea and Enzo Maresca are still working on a deal to sign Victor Osimhen, which is going to bring me over now to my notes from Ben Jacobs speaking about this. So, yeah, this is not a verbatim. This is just a few notes that I took from him that I thought was interesting. Okay, so we know the situation with Osimhen. He is still a Napoli player. He's not training with them. He's not being listed in the squads. They lost 3-0 in their first game against Verona, Antonio Conte's Osimhen, and they need to make Conte happy. So Osimhen, he wants to leave Napoli, and Napoli want him gone. He's not training with them. Can he even be reintegrated back into the squad at this point? If he does, Lukaku might be there. They're not planning to play on him. How is it going to work? Conte's not planning for Osimhen. He wants Lukaku. And the fact, he's annoyed now. Conte, he's already thrown the grump. He's already, in his pre-match press conference to Verona, he was like dissing the situation at Napoli, how it's not what he wanted. So they're already going to have to try and appease him to try and get going, and that will probably come in the space of Lukaku and sorting out the Osimhen question, because he's being asked about it every 5 minutes, Conte, and he wants it gone. He wants him gone, and he wants the situation gone. So Napoli, of course, recently gave Victor Osimhen a new deal with a buyout clause, simply from Napoli's perspective, to protect his asset value, but they gave him mega wages. So they said, look, Osimhen, sign this new deal. We'll put a buyout clause for 120 million in it, and we'll give you loads of wages. Someone will buy you. You can get paid huge wages in the meantime, and they'll have to pay you like big wages. The new club will buy you. It suits everyone, right? Well, wrong, because Napoli can't actually pay these wages. They absolutely aren't prepared. They were prepared to sell him, and we're like nearing the end of the transfer window, and all these potential suitors they were thinking of, like PSG, Chelsea, Arsenal, several Saudi clubs, they're not there. It's only Chelsea that are saying, yeah, we'll take him if it's on our terms now. And that means both Napoli and the player are going to get twitchy towards the end of the transfer window. Yeah, so they gave him this transfer, these wages, because they were sure he was going to go, and that was the plan. So they're desperate to get him out. So Chelsea remain in a strong position. So Chelsea are okay as they are. They've got strikers, they've got forwards, they've got players that can play down the middle. But we've kept the door open for Osimhen, like I said in recent videos. Conte is, like I said in my notes here, I've already said to you guys, Conte is already unhappy and he's desperate for Lukaku, and they want to get him Lukaku because that not only is he the striker that is for the plan, but it's going to like keep Conte happy at early doors so they can actually settle into the season and appease the Napoli manager. So Osimhen will have to go. They get Lukaku, they can't have Osimhen hanging around. And as Ben Jacobs reports on the Londoners Blue podcast, Chelsea remain the only suitor for Victor Osimhen. Of course, PSG offered a straight 80 million euros. What's that? 72 million pounds for him. And they're willing to pay his wages because they do pay really high wages. And Osimhen agreed to go to PSG. But Napoli, at 72 million pounds flat rate, waved him away. They were like, no, it's going to be at least over 100. And that, the talks broke down and it ended. And that was like weeks ago now. So I don't know if that could be reopened. Of course, Gonzalo Ramos is out for 3 months, but there's been French reports suggesting that they're not going to go back in for Osimhen. That they're like, nah, we just don't want that. So, Chelsea remain, at time of recording, the only suitor for Victor Osimhen. So as the window goes on, will the players' stance soften and agreed reduced wages on loan? So Ben Jacobs was suggesting that actually Chelsea could find a way to just get a loan with Napoli. It's not so much them that don't want to loan him. Actually, it's the player that doesn't want to be loaned. The player wants to know where he's going permanently, and he doesn't want to go back to Napoli. So actually, as the situation becomes more and more desperate for Napoli, they'd be like, yeah, just loan him. Loan him, let us buy Lukaku, loan Osimhen, take his wages, just get him out of our face for the moment so we can, settle with Conte into the season. That is like an idea, that is the situation at the moment. But it's the player that doesn't want to lower his wages and doesn't want to go on loan. So he will have to soften his stance. Now, on the wage structure, there's a speculation here that maybe, if it's a case, and I wonder if this is a similar thing we've done with Joao Felix, lower your wages, and if we qualify for top four, if we qualify for the Champions League and go back into the, the top tier of European football, while we're in European competition, you get high wages, and this is stuff, again, I always say I've been calling for this for years for Chelsea. Give them their superstar money on merit. We finished mid-table under Mourinho, we finished mid-table recently, 12th under Potter. If you do that, you don't get the Champions League player money. I mean, Chelsea was always a club of mercenaries. Like, you just come to Chelsea, you get paid loads of money, you play well, but, don't worry if you have a bad season, you're still going to get your, ridiculous money. Nah, mate, don't want that. You got to play well, and you've got to fight for each other, fight for the badge, fight for the Chelsea fans. And if you, win the fight, you get the money, mate. Do you know what I mean? Don't worry, you're still going to be able to pay your mortgage on the basic rate. You're going to be okay. But this is the kind of structure I want. So maybe Osimhen looks at Chelsea and goes, right, well, I'll reduce my wages for this loan period. And if we qualify for the Champions League, the obligation to buy me is triggered, and I'll be playing with Joao Felix, Cole Palmer, Christopher Nkunku, Pedro Neto, Caicedo and Fernandes and Lavia. There's lots of quality there. Cucurella's just won the European Championship. Reece James, Malo Gusto are ballers. They've got good defenders. Goalkeepers. They've got 8 goalkeepers. Maybe if you combine them like a transformer, you can make one good one. But do you know what I mean? You might look at that Chelsea squad and go, you know what? Hot dog. That's a good Chelsea squad. We can get top 4 together, and I want to be part of that. He's still a Chelsea fan, reportedly, and, idolises Drogba. If he thinks, I back myself, we can do this, get top 4, I'll get my money back. I'll get my wages back, and also they'll have to buy me. So if it works, they'll buy me. And maybe that's the way to do things, I think. That I would genuinely be interested in, and I think that would be the perfect situation for us, personally. But ultimately, we're going to be okay without him. This is not a signing we desperately need. I know everyone in the media, mainstream media, is saying, well, Chelsea have got all these attacking wingers, they're signing them, but they need a striker and a goalkeeper. I mean, we haven't properly had a look at Jorgensen yet. He might have a few good games and everyone stops talking about that. Your Talk Sports, your Sky Sports pundits, your Match of the Day gang, they can all stop all that. Do you know what I mean? They can be like, all right, actually, you know, the goalkeeper's good enough. Let's hope he can get better, but they might need a striker. Maybe Nico Jackson scores 16 Premier League goals, non-penalty goals. Joao Felix chips in, Neto chips in, Cole Palmer chips in, and they go, oh, they don't need a striker, and we're fine as we are, you know. But of course, many people are still thinking, looking at that Man City game, what happens if you drop Osimhen in there? Do you know what I mean? But we can live without him. We're in a strong negotiating position. And I do feel it's a little bit of a game of chicken, less so with Napoli and more with the player himself. So I'm going to cover the story closely, guys. Do keep it locked to Football Therapy. If you choose to subscribe, hit the bell. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. Heck, thank you for sharing. And hope to see you back here soon. Peace.